Hello, everybody. I am Dr. Lisa Richardson of Flow Web Strategy and Design. Welcome to week 2 of Web Strategy Wednesdays. And I've got 5 new questions for you this week, and let's jump right in. First question today is, what should I have in my footer and how do I change it? Now, your footer could be any of 2 places. The first place and the main place that we think of when we talk about a footer is the bottom of your WordPress site where you see the same 3 or 4 columns of information on every page. And that's designed to give you more click-throughs into your site, as also for boosting your SEO power. So you want to make sure that the information there is very relevant to your keywords, to your industry, and to encouraging people to spend more time on your site. Now, the other place that we think of in the footer is where you have your copyright information at the very bottom, and that should have the format of copyright, your company name, and the current year, or the range of years that includes the current year. And you want to make sure that that's updated regularly, as well as making sure that you have additional copyright protections on your site, such as WP control copy or no right-click images and so on. Again, any tool that I recommend that's available online, I will include that link in the description. Okay. You also want to have at that very bottom or somewhere in the footer, you also want to have another copy of your main menu so that you can encourage people to be able to navigate your site once they get to the bottom of a page rather than having to scroll all the way back up to the top. And you also want to include a back to top link sometimes as well, depending on how long your content is on a given page. All right, next question. What do I do when I outgrow parts of my theme? Now, this is where you start getting into programming and hacking. You want to make sure that first that you choose a theme that's going to be able to grow with you in your business. And if you had a recent redesign, for example, and you really like your theme style, and you're not ready to change themes altogether, now you're going to need to have some custom pages created, either by the theme author if they offer that as a service, or by an outside provider. Sometimes, however, it's hard to hack someone else's theme because you have to figure out how they did the original plan. And for many designers, and myself included, I've stopped actually doing these theme hacks, is because the way that I would lay out a theme may not be the same way that another theme author might do that. And so I'm going to spend more time figuring out their style than actually coding the page for you. And that's not always a good use of my time or your money. So the shorthand is find a theme that works for you, that you can expand on and grow as your business grows. The next thing is there are lots of resources available for learning how to manage the WordPress hooks and PHP, for example, lots of free resources for learning how to hack these programs yourself. And certainly being able to do something yourself frees you up from having to hire professional help. So ultimately the decision is going to be, are you going to invest time in these changes, or are you going to invest money in these changes? And which is going to be the most cost effective for you? Because of course time is money. Okay. All right, next up we have how many plugins are too many and which ones are essential? In this case, now we're talking about the speed that your site is loading, which will affect your ranking with Google, because Google likes a nice, fast site. And you're also looking at usability on your end as well as for your users, because at the point where you start having theme plugins that are interfering with each other, you're going to have a diminished user experience. And in the worst case scenario, you're actually going to break things on your site because the plugins don't like each other. So you want to kind of pare it down to first choose the usability and the functionality that you need for your site, and then selectively choose the plugins that will allow you to do that in the best and most efficient manner. So what you want to do is ensure that you are choosing plugins that are well documented, that have authors that are very responsive, And then you want to make sure that you're choosing the right plugins and not just having more and more and more plugins, because that is space on your server that's being taken up. And if you have lots of plugins that you're not actually using, go ahead and delete them from the server. You can always reinstall them later. As far as essential plugins, you absolutely positively should have security plugins and speed enhancement plugins. And in my case, the one I recommend most highly is from Bit51, and that's Better WP Security, which offers you a lot of options for ensuring that you have the best possible security on your site. Now, of course, there are lots of security plugins out there, and I'll list a few more in addition to the Bit51 Better WP Security in the description. But Bit51 has been the one that I found to be the most comprehensive and easiest to use for me. There is some learning curve in customizing each option, but the initial setup where you allow the plugin to do most of the basic security for you is also very powerful. Okay. Next thing is it best to have 1, 2, or 3 columns? This is going to have a lot to do with the kind of site that you have. If you're a blogger or if you're doing something that's more magazine style, you're going to have probably three columns at a minimum or 2 columns at a minimum, depending on, again, the style and the amount of content that you have. I find a magazine style to be very confusing, but I like a nice clean site generally with 1 column. But that's a preference for myself and not necessarily one that I recommend to all of my clients. It really depends, again, on what your users want. If you're finding that they're coming to your front page and they're not clicking on anything, you may be giving them too many options and then you don't make any decisions at all. So decide what you want them to do on the front page and then make the decision as to how many columns that's going to take. All right? All right, and our last question for today is a fun one. Why do you love WordPress so much? Well, for me, WordPress is very easy to use, and I find it's easy to teach my clients how to use the backend very simply. I want to empower my clients to be users of the software and not rely on me to make all of the small changes, because of course that can get very expensive for them. I want them to be able to make changes to their site without having to chase me down to see when I'm available to add a new product or update their sale page, you know? So WordPress as a platform is very learnable, and it's given you gives the ability to structure your site to deliver information most effectively. But again, any good site starts with planning. So I want you to make sure that before you jump into WordPress or jump into any website builder, that you have planned your site to determine what you want users to do and how you deliver the information that they come to you for most effectively. All right, that's it for Web Strategy Wednesdays this week. If you want me to answer your questions on the air, please give me a call and send me an email at wsw@youcanflow.com. You can find me on Twitter at Dr. Lisa WP, and you can find me on Facebook at facebook.com/youcanflow. Happy safe surfing. See you next week.